now available in paperback and e-readers. Spellbound, a darker shade of black. Get your copy today at your favorite online bookseller. I was talking to someone online about one of my videos, and they asked me, why is it that we don't see the issues of biracial black people in black media regularly? And the answer to that question is very simple. The person who controls the money is the person who controls the media. And the person who controls the money, controls the media, controls the narrative over the media. And the person who controls the money and the narrative in black media are black feminists. And black feminists pretty much control that narrative, and according to their view of black media, they pretty much have no place for the issues of biracial people. According to many of the black feminists, they believe that the biracial person and their issues aren't that important because in their eyes, the biracial person gets preferential treatment in mainstream society. According to their view, which is based on a white supremacist views of color, the biracial person gets preferential treatment in society, is seen as better than every other black person, and because this biracial person is seen as better than other black people and is believed to get more opportunities than other black people, this biracial person does not need to have their issues presented in the media. In their eyes, the biracial person is getting preference, so there's no need for black people to go out of their way to present their issues in media. However, what this does is it prevents people from seeing the real issues that biracial people go through, because when it comes down to black media, again, is coming from the biased perspective and the biased narrative of the black feminist. And the black feminist, what a lot of people don't understand about her narrative is that she's coming from a place of envy and contempt for the biracial person. Because in her eyes, especially for when it comes down to biracial women, she believes that this biracial woman has more opportunities, and because she has more opportunities, she does not have the same issues that she does. But in actuality, biracial women have issues just like every other black woman out here, and they struggle just as hard in society like every other black woman. But according to the black feminist, the biracial person or the light-skinned person gets preferential treatment. But in real life, a lot of biracial people don't get personal preferences and all these other issues. But when you can't tell that to the dark-skinned person or the black feminist, because the black feminist, in her mind, has this idea about biracial people. She has this view of biracial people. She believes that this biracial person is put on a higher position than she is, when this is not the case at all. And when it comes down to the biracial person, we don't really get an objective picture of their issues, an objective picture of their struggles, and an objective picture of what they go through in a day, because biracial people also have their own issues that they deal with in society, but nobody wants to shine a spotlight on it in black media because many of these black feminists are too busy making themselves out to be victims to think about anybody else's struggles as it relates to race relations. Now, when it comes down to the black feminist, she has a place and a position for biracial men, because biracial men pretty much, if they can fit her narrative, she will bring them into the media. And she usually brings in guys who are trying to overcompensate for their feelings of inadequacy about blackness, such as your Jesse Williams or your Colin Kaepernick, because they fit her narrative about what a black man should be. Because in her eyes, she wants to bring in a light-skinned black man who pretty much is following this black feminist narrative because it makes her feel comfortable about her ideas about what she wants for a black man. But really, this black man who she's bringing up like a Jesse Williams or a Colin Kaepernick is just a placeholder for the white man she really wants. And because this guy is closer to whiteness, she will pretty much put this guy up as a love interest or a boyfriend or some sort of hunk in her narrative. But in her media, she has no place for this biracial woman. And when it comes down to the media, she expresses great contempt for biracial women, and this is why we don't see her issues presented in black media because, again, your black woman and your black feminist pretty much believe that this biracial woman is getting preferential treatment. She gets more opportunities. She gets better opportunities. And because she gets more opportunities and better opportunities and is in a better social place, there is no need to really talk about her stories, tell her stories, or discuss her issues because she believes that if she wanted her issues discussed, that she would go out and get them discussed by white people. But white people don't want to talk about the issues of biracial people in mainstream media. And most biracial people actually want to see their issues discussed in black media because many biracial people do identify with their black culture and they want to be a part of black culture, but black feminists don't want them to be a part of black culture, especially biracial black women, because in their eyes, again, the biracial black woman is an enemy of theirs. They don't like the biracial black woman, especially if she comes from a white father, because she sees this biracial black woman as somebody who she has to compete with for the attention of men. She is seeing her as someone who gets preferential treatment from men. She is seeing her as someone more attractive than she is and more desirable than she is. But again, this is all due to her low self-esteem and her poor self-worth. So she makes efforts to try to censor any media that is presented talking about the issues of biracial black people, especially biracial black women, because she doesn't want those issues discussed because she believes that she is the only person being victimized in society and that this black woman is the only one being abused by no good black men, and she needs a savior to come pull her out of her situation. But if we were to take a bigger and more objective picture of the story, we would see that black people of all skin tones have their issues. Black people struggle from all skin tones and all sorts of the spectrum. And all of those stories really need to be told so that we can get a panoramic picture of black culture and the black experience. And this is something that we don't get from black feminist media because black feminist media only tells us that dark skinned and brown skinned black women are the only ones struggling, dark skinned and brown skinned black women are the only ones being victimized, and that there are no other stories out there. And because of this narrative that they're presenting, we're not getting the stories of other people in the black community, other cultures in the black community. And when it comes down to biracial people, we have really not even scratched the surface as it relates to talking about their issues and their struggles in America with both white people and black people. And when it comes down to the black feminist, she really doesn't want anyone talking about the biracial person because she is going to shine a light on her behavior and how she mistreats biracial people and how she views biracial people. And that's not going to put her in a positive light because if we really start looking at this black feminist and especially a lot of these dark-skinned women and their whole light-skinned, dark-skinned issue and the insecurities related to it, we're going to hear from the biracial women a totally different story than what they are presenting in the main narrative, and they really don't want anybody taking the light off of them, taking that victim position away from them, and presenting them as the person who is the one causing all the trouble. And the whole thing is that many of the black feminists don't want to be held accountable for their behavior, and many of the black women don't want to be held accountable for the behavior. So they make every effort to silence anybody who wants to talk about the issues of biracial people, and they all talk about how this person has more privileges, but in actuality, they really don't have that many opportunities to discuss the issues that biracial people go through in media because we rarely get any sort of story discussing it in detail because in mainstream media that's controlled by black feminists, we're told that the main narrative is about black people broad, but then we're not told, a complete picture of it from a panoramic perspective because in their eyes, black women are just black women who are brown skinned and dark skinned who pretty much follow the black feminist narrative. And once you go outside of that narrative, they don't really want to tell that story because they can't be presented as the victim in that story. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.